There was this architect of Hitler. His name was Albert Speer, and he was quite a charming man, and from what I heard, the judges kind of like maybe not liked him, but went easier on him. And he actually, in fact, did oppose Hitler towards the end, because Hitler had this plan of kind of like destroying Germany with him. Hello guys.
Hi everyone.
I'm Waldemar.
And I'm Veronica.
And today we are watching a more serious video. Veronica found it. It's called Nuremberg Executions 1946. What Happened to the Bodies?
Yeah, by Mark Felton Productions. It's a new channel for us. I found it when I was checking out what channels people who enjoy Fat Electrician enjoy, and this one came up a lot. He has over 2 million subscribers.
But it was recommended to us right?
Yeah, it was also recommended to us, yeah.
Yeah, it's about the Nuremberg trials, as you can probably deduce. And I have never seen this video. I know something about Nuremberg trials. We have seen one video about it on this channel. You can't,
because it was one video that we saw, but we weren't able to upload it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we have some background knowledge about the Nuremberg executions, trials, but not that much. This one is specifically about what happened to the bodies.
I've watched some documentaries on Netflix about the Nuremberg trials.
So if I have any questions, maybe you'll be able to fill me in.
I know more a bit, I think. But I don't know what happened to the bodies, to be honest. I would assume that they weren't buried in graves, because that would, encourage the neo-Nazis to
visit
pilgrim
yeah.
to the burial sites. They do that with Mussolini, because Mussolini has a normal grave nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every year people come to visit this grave, like neo-Nazis.
Ready?
And Goering killed himself before his execution. He swallowed the cyanide.
The International Military Tribunal, the IMT, convened in the ruined city of Nuremberg on the 20th of November 1945 to sit in judgment on the surviving leaders of Nazi Germany. The trial continued until the 1st of October 1946, when the judgments were handed down. Of the 24 defendants, 11 were sentenced to death by hanging. Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, the most senior German leader placed on trial, was somehow able to commit suicide the night before his execution, using a vial of cyanide smuggled to him in his cell. This will be the subject of a different film in the future. The remaining 10 were all duly hanged by a special team of US Army executioners, using 2 gallows constructed in the Nuremberg Palace of Justice's gymnasium. They were Wilhelm Keitel, Field Marshal.
I'm a bit shocked that they were able to show that on YouTube.
I don't think that's the
or is it from some kind of
footage from their execution.
Oh, you
I
think
would
it's
be
from
surprised.
a movie or something?
I don't know, but I don't think that it's a footage from the executions.
Yeah, that would be very strange if they were able to do that.
I think that they weren't taping them.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm mistaken.
Okay.
Former chief of the German armed forces. Joachim von Ribbentrop, Hitler's foreign minister. Dr. Ernst Kaltenbrunner, SS Obergruppenführer and chief of the Reich Main Security Office. Alfred Rosenberg, head of the Reich Ministry of the Occupied Eastern Territories and a major National Socialist theorist. Dr. Hans Frank, head of the General Government of Occupied Poland.
Yeah, Poland.
Wilhelm Frick, Reich Minister of the Interior and then Governor of Occupied Czechoslovakia. Julius Streicher, publisher of the Nazi Party newspaper Der Stürmer. Fritz Sauckel, General Plenipotentiary for Labour Deployment. Alfred Jodl, Colonel General and Chief of the Operations Staff of the Armed Forces High Command, and Arthur Seyss-Inquart, Reich Kommissar of the occupied Netherlands. The executions were botched, resulting in several cases of slow death by strangulation of up to 28 minutes.
Yeah, but I don't think they were botched. I think they did it on purpose because it was more than once. Like I think Keitel was dying for like 30 minutes. So, I don't think they hired like
Amateurs
to do that. So I think they hired people who knew how to prolong the hanging as much as it's possible. I was having a discussion with ChatGPT about the Nuremberg trials a while ago.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was asking him what he thinks about the verdicts and what would he do. And scary fellow.
What did he say?
He said that he would be much harsher.
Maybe he knows you already and he knew that was the response you wanted to hear.
No. I haven't suggested him anything.
Ah, okay.
I just asked him for the summary first, and then I asked him for what is his opinion and
why are you assuming it's a man?
What is their opinion? Sorry.
Yeah.
Instead of broken necks, and several of the condemned smashed their heads on the trapdoor of one of the gallows as they fell, the opening being too small. Master Sergeant John C. Woods conducted the hangings, assisted by Sergeants Joseph Malta and Billy Ford, all members of the 68th 50th Internal Security Detachment at Nuremberg. Woods was a controversial character, discharged from the US Navy in 1930 after being diagnosed with constitutional psychopathic inferiority. He had falsely claimed hangman experience and was selected as an army executioner during the war, hanging 34 American soldiers in France in 1944-45. Internal reports suggested that Woods bungled at least 11 executions of convicted US servicemen before he arrived at Nuremberg. And this is normally where the story of Nuremberg ends, with the executions on the 16th of October 1946. But what happened to the bodies of the Nazi leaders? What happened to the contents of their cells and their personal property held in storage at Nuremberg? Well, the story of what happened to the bodies was suppressed for years, but in fact a top-secret and rather macabre operation to dispose of them was swiftly enacted by the US Army. After carefully photographing and labeling the bodies at Nuremberg, they were all stripped naked and placed into standard plain wooden coffins. This included the body of Goering, who had cheated the hangman. And this is where things took a turn towards the bizarre. Each coffin was labelled with a false name, each corpse being given the identity of a fictitious American soldier. For example, Goering became George Munger. On the morning of the 17th of October 1946, the 11 coffins were loaded aboard US Army trucks under the command of a military police battalion that formed part of the Nuremberg Trials Guard Force. A 12th empty coffin was added to the trucks, the reason soon becoming clear. The trucks, escorted by jeeps, left Nuremberg's Palace of Justice early in the morning and drove to Munich, to a huge cemetery called the Ostfriedhof. The trucks pulled up outside the cemetery's crematorium, built in 1929. The crematorium staff were informed that the remains of 12 American soldiers who had been killed in action in 1945 had been recovered from the battlefield. In accordance with their families' wishes, they were to be cremated. The crematorium was surrounded by heavily armed US soldiers, while the cremations were underway, watched over by several officers. It took all day to complete the cremations. The ashes of each war criminal
but why there was a 12 coffin?
Carefully labelled with their
I'm
false
waiting to find
American
out.
identities. At the conclusion of the operation, the urns were loaded aboard a truck and driven under escort to US Army Mortuary No. 1 at 25 Heilmannstrasse in Munich, otherwise known as the Villa Oberhummer, the attractive white house of a wealthy textiles manufacturer that had been commandeered by the US Army. Next came the disposal of the ashes. Not far from the villa is the Wenzbach, a small tributary stream of the river Isar that runs through Munich.
So we didn't really learn about the 12th coffin then?
Yeah.
We are already at the ashes stage.
He said that the reason will be clear.
Yeah. It's not clear to me. Is it supposed to be clear?
For me, it isn't.
But also, why do you think they had the fake names? So if they were stopped on the road, that people would not know who their bodies were belonging to, or just so they would be able to lie at the crematorium.
Maybe they didn't want the soldiers to know it.
Yeah, maybe. And they did lie at the crematorium. Maybe they thought they wouldn't do it.
If it was supposed to be a secret and it was escorted, by many trucks, then if if it would have the names, of Goering, Ribbentrop, and like that, and go and on, then soldiers will start telling stories about it, and soon everyone would know what happened with the bodies. And if they wanted it to remain a secret, then they needed to change the identities, because
You may be right.
it's just some soldiers who died, and I mean many soldiers died during the Second World War, so it wouldn't be like a story to tell everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume that that's it.
17th of October, US soldiers took the urns to the Vensbach and tipped the contents into the water. Then, using axes and their boots, they carefully smashed the urns into fragments and then drove away. Now for the second part of the clean-up operation, disposal of the executed men's possessions. Those who had stood trial in their military uniforms had had those uniforms stripped of all insignia
maybe they were
and
in the coffin.
decorations. Those materials had been placed in storage at Nuremberg. Field Marshal Keitel's medals and decorations, including his Knight's Cross and World War I Iron Crosses, were all destroyed, along with his Field Marshal's baton. Strangely, his 2 golden party badges were retained, though the swastikas were defaced, before being handed over to the finance director of
they
the
were made
US
from gold.
occupation zone in Germany for sale, to help offset the cost of the executions, which had run to some $4,500. Regarding Colonel General Jodl, all of his decorations and medals were destroyed. Hermann Goering had many decorations, and was captured wearing his distinctive neck assemblage of the Grand Cross of the Iron Cross, the Knight's Cross, and the World War I Pour le Mérite, or Blue Max. The Americans destroyed all of these decorations, as well as his World War I Iron Cross First Class. However, Goering's solid gold Nazi Party badge, his diamond-studded Pilot's Observer's badge, and other decorations made from precious metals were denazified by scratching out or otherwise defacing the swastikas before they too were sent to the finance director to be sold, presumably for scrap.
Yeah,
However,
but
why waste
it's
it?
understandable. Understandable. It was a poor country, and also, if you see something made from diamond or from gold, why would you throw it away?
Yeah.
If you can melt it,
There's so many poor people after the war,
you
especially.
can melt it, and I mean, I don't think the Americans gave it back to the Germans.
Yeah.
But still, like he said, there was a cost of burial, so maybe to pay the soldiers.
Yeah, it would be stupid to just throw it out.
Yeah.
He had many sets of his medals, and copies of his Blue Max, Grand Cross, and other decorations were recovered from his train at Berchtesgaden station, or looted from his private property, and survive in collections around the world today. Although not hanged at Nuremberg, Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz, former head of the German Navy,
sentenced for
received
20
10
years.
years imprisonment at
10
Nuremberg.
years.
His U-boat war badge with diamonds was taken from him. Its swastika crudely excised, and this was also sent to the finance director as scrap jewellery. Most of the executed had left behind papers, letters, or diaries in their cells. These were gathered up and sorted into categories, though some of this material subsequently disappeared. All uniforms in storage bearing Nazi insignia were burned. All other clothing, personal possessions, and less precious jewellery were turned over to the relatives of the executed, along with any cash up to 1,000 Reichsmarks. All other cash and precious stones went to the finance directorate. One man was missing from the cremations in October 1946. Robert Ley had been head of the German Labour Front under Hitler. The American psychologist at Nuremberg, Dr. Douglas Kelly, thought that Ley was mentally ill, but before further tests could be made, Ley managed to hang himself in his cell on the 24th of October 1945. The body was cremated, but in a bizarre move, Dr. Kelly had Ley's brain smuggled out of the prison for study, and a section of Ley's brain tissue was found among Kelly's papers in 2013, long after he also killed himself in 1958. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share. You can also visit my new audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. I still don't know what the 12th coffin was for, though.
Yeah.
For
Sorry,
a second,
guys,
I thought
if you
if we
understood
talked
it,
over it, then we are really, 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 really sorry. If you can let us know, then let us know. But I thought for a second that the 12th coffin would be for the possessions, but then they could have burned them anywhere else. So I suppose that doesn't make sense. But yeah, Random Earth right now scrolling through the comments and I don't see anyone pointing it out. So maybe we did.
yeah, maybe we are just deaf.
Maybe we're just deaf. But how did you like the production?
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, it was a nice amount of pictures and the videos, and it really felt like a professional documentary to me.
Yeah, and that's what I like in documentaries. Like I said it many times,
Yeah,
that I like to see like footage from the period. That's why the documentaries, from the Second World War are so interesting to watch, because you are not only restricted to the reconstructions, to the like maps. You can actually see a footage of those people, and what happened. You can see footage from the trial. You can hear the audio from the trial.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
It was an interesting perspective as well when he was talking about what happened to their possessions. It's nothing I would have normally thought about, so it was quite interesting to learn about this. I think maybe this channel is also really good for people who are already a lot into history and they want to learn these small details. Although he did give like a lot of context about what's happening as well, so it's not like you are completely in the dark. But yeah,
I think it was very important information. What happened with their belongings, because those were like high-ranking officers. So their medals, were very important for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like adding salt to the wound. I don't know if they knew it before or they just suspected it, but the fact that that they actually destroyed everything about them.
Mm-hmm.
There is no burial place. There are no medals, no distinctions remaining. It's like they were wiped out of existence, like they never existed.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I think Goering would be rolling in his grave if he had a grave, because he was very proud of his of his medals.
Yeah.
Like the Blue Max that they were mentioning,
Mm-hmm.
it was his medal that he received in the First World War,
Mm-hmm.
because he was a pilot in the First World War, very, very famous one,
Mm-hmm.
very good one.
Yeah, I remember from the video.
And he received this Blue Max. I don't know if it's like highest decoration or one of the highest, but it was very important. And Hitler was using Goering in the beginning of the Nazi Party because he was such a war hero, and he was always parading, with his Blue Max around his neck, because it was such a distinctive medal.
Crosses, right? He was the one with multiple crosses.
Oh, I don't know how it looked.
Because they showed one person who had the multiple crosses. I think it was Goering.
But the cross was the Iron Cross, probably.
Yeah. But he had like different crosses on his neck. It was in this video today. You don't remember?
Maybe I didn't notice.
Okay.
What do you mean? Because
I'm not gonna find it now.
you can have like a different Iron Crosses, because if you have a couple of Iron Crosses, you would wear them all, because they were such a important distinction, that if you had like two, for example, you would wear two
Both
of them. Yeah, a very, very good video.
Okay, maybe we will, if you guys want, and if we will have the time, then we will. Not have the time. If we will want, and we will find something nice, we will watch something else from this channel.
Yeah, and I will recommend to you. Maybe we'll put a link in the description, because we did a reaction to this one, but like Veronica said, we were not able to upload it.
Yeah, the Nuremberg trials by the, I can say it now, recommended History Scope channel.
Yeah, very, very good video, very interesting video. You can learn a lot about it, and maybe you can form your own opinions about the trial, because it was a very controversial trial, because it was difficult to decide what to do with those criminals, with those Nazis, and they didn't want to sentence them all to death, because they wanted to have they wanted it to look like it's a fair trial, so they were kind of forced to have lower sentences for some of them. And for example, there was this architect of Hitler. His name was Albert Speer, and he was quite a charming man, and from what I heard, the judges kind of like maybe not liked him, but went easier on him. And he actually, in fact, did oppose Hitler towards the end, because Hitler had this plan of kind of like destroying Germany with him. He had this opinion that if the Germany was not able to win the war, then they don't have a right to exist. And he wanted to destroy Germany completely, like burn everything to the ground.
Wow.
Yeah. And Albert Speer was like a minister of like infrastructure, something like that. And he was very opposing to this plan because he thought that if they would actually do that, then there is no point of like restoring Germany because there will be nothing to restore. Like Hitler wanted to destroy the Ruhr region, this industrial region in Germany. And to this day, it's a very important region. Most of Germany's industry is in this region. And if it would be destroyed, then there would be no point basically in creating Germany again. So behind Hitler's back, he did not do this order. Hitler ordered him to destroy, and he said that he will do it, and he didn't. And he said, but we don't know if it's true, but he said that on his last meeting with Hitler, he told Hitler that he didn't do this order, but we don't know if that's true because we only have his testimony about it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and
you read that in the book?
And in some videos too.
We can put the book in the description box if you want to check it out. It was Hitler's Rise to Power, something like that?
Rise of Evil.
Rise of Evil.
And then there is a second book, Hitler's Downfall of Evil.
Yeah, so we can put it in the description if you guys want to check it out because Valdemar really was stuck to the book. I think it's quite a good one.
Very good book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Speer received only 20 years.
Oh, okay. Okay, because of the supposition, probably. Thank you very much for watching with us, guys. Just a quick mention at the end, we do have a movie channel now with movie reactions where we post videos every Friday once a week. So you can check that out in our description box. If you want to head over there and check it out, maybe subscribe. And in the description box, you'll also find our Patreon, which we recently launched. So if that's something you think you'll be interested in, then go and check what kind of tires we have because there's super duper things in there.
And if you want to support us, we are very grateful for that. And that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
For now, we don't have like any buy us coffee or anything like that. We want to, engage you more in our channels. So
yeah, and give you,
Patreon
some more
is the way to do that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye.
Bye.